I'm very honored tonight to introduce our very special guest from Japan, Mr. Kengo Kuma, with his lecture, Driving Forces Behind Architecture of Smallness.
Thank you very much for inviting us to this great event. I came from a small country, Japan, and Latvia and Japan, we both, this is, okay. So we both have small land, but we both have beautiful forests and beautiful beaches just behind the building. Today I want to talk about the importance of smallness. In 20th century, the bigness was very important. In America, the skyscrapers and big boxes, big airport, was leading the society, leading the economy. But in 21st century, I think, on the contrary, the smallness has become very, very important. How to live happily in the small country is very important for both countries. I want to show the examples of the wisdom, how to live with beautiful natures in the small land. The first project is a small museum, but it is difficult to find. It is because it is a small museum. And actually, the half of the building was buried in the bank beside the river. And the planning is very simple. It's a small tunnel, and the tunnel is working like the museum. How to create the harmony with nature is very important for this, because I didn't want to build a concrete box on this beautiful site. The entrance is like that, but the problem happens is the taxi driver couldn't find the entrance because I tried to hide the entrance, but at the beginning, even the taxi driver couldn't find it. They asked me to design the big billboard, but I refused. No, this should be quiet. This is the small plaza in front of the river. And this is bottom of the building. It's a small exhibition space. I think the protagonist of the project is river, not the building. Building should work as a flame of the river. And the next project is the Hiroshige Museum. Hiroshige is the name of the artist in 19th century, and Hiroshige is an ukiyo-e artist. And the basic idea for this museum is made by local material. The wood came from the forest behind the building, and also I try to create the relationship with town and mountain. I want to show the things. The mountain behind the building is called Satoyama. It's a village mountain. It's a small mountain, but the people's life, the village people's life, was totally supported by the mountain. The material came from the mountain, and the energy came from the mountain. And they couldn't live without the mountain. It happened before 19th century. But in 20th century, people totally forgot the mountain, because everything came from Tokyo. The material came from Tokyo. The energy, the electric, gas, everything came from Tokyo. And they thought mountain was not needed anymore. And it's very bad for the mountain, because environmentally, the mountain was totally abandoned. And also the shrine the shrine was abandoned. Today I heard before the Catholic came to Latvia, you also had that kind of religion. The mountains and the natures and your life are totally connected. But it's also same in Japan. But in 20th century, people forgot the shrine. And then in that village, the shrine was as abandoned, it became a ruin. And as my idea is for the museum, is remember shrine again. That is a basic concept. But the mayor of the village was against that idea. He said, I built a big parking in front of the building. He said that the entrance should face the big parking. But I said, no. It's American idea. The Japanese idea is not like that. The Japanese idea is the entrance should face mountain, should face shrine. That is my idea. Then I cut the building. It's like that. That hole is to connect mountain and village again. This is a beautiful mountain. And besides that, use local material as possible. The material from Japan, Tokyo, so we try to avoid as possible as can. And the wood came from the mountain behind, and papers, we found the very good paper craftsman in the village. We worked with him to make those paper wall, and the stone came from the small quarry of the village. And then the super juxtaposition of those transparent layers was the theme of that design. And the bamboo is a great material I like. It's a small bamboo house in Japan. It's a structural system. So we did use the bamboo for the formwork of the concrete. We injected the concrete in the bamboo, and so we always test those mock-up. And this is a small bamboo house. And so forget the neighbors. For neighbors, typical Japanese houses, but forget it. As the floors is like that. Walking on the bamboo is very, very comfortable. And the next project in China is a bamboo house besides Great Wall. The Great Wall is behind the building. But as the beginning of the projects, I was worrying about the taste of Chinese people, because Chinese people they like the bigness. Still, the Shanghai, Beijing, they are building the big towers, but contrarily, I propose to have the low silhouette building, merging to the environment, and in that area, I didn't cut the landscape. If we cut the land, the forest disappeared. But I try to keep landscape as possible as can, and the bottom of the building is following the landscape. And the Great Wall is just behind the building. The bamboo is a local material from the area, and the entrance. And this is a small tea house. This tea house, I like this space very much. In that tea house, we can enjoy tea. And tea is another important media between natures and human. So we can feel natures through the experience of tea. In Italy, we did build a small pavilion. As I worked with my student, and also the carpenters supported very much. The inspiration came from the small toy from the mountainside of Japan. This toy is a very, very smart joint system. The three types of joint, as we insert and turn it, so we can finish this. And so we prepared those sticks in Japan, and we brought to Italy, and the people enjoyed that very much. And after the experience, came back from Japan, so I tested the structural system to build the 10 meters high building. But still, it's a small project. And finally, without any column and beam, we could make this by the sticks. The dimension of the sticks is 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters. It is very tiny, very light, and transparent. But that small sticks can make anything. Actually, the shelves were made by the sticks. And the structures and the shelves and the interiors are all integrated in that building. In 20th century, everything are divided. Structure engineers, interior designers, and the curators are divided. But in this case, as one single unit can make anything. This is, look up the ceiling like that. And even for the big bridge, I try to use local material. This is a wooden bridge in Yusuhara. It's a deep mountain, and they could produce beautiful trees, but they couldn't find a way to use those beautiful wood. And then we worked together to make this wooden bridge. And this is the interior of the bridge. This bridge is also used for small museum. And also the people can stay in the bridge. It's working as a small hotel. And for the same village, as we did design a small hotel named Marché Yusuhara. Historically, they have had that kind of small cafe and serving the tea to the traveler. They are still proud of that kind of hospitality. And the thatch is a major material for this house. So we decided to use thatch for the facade of the building. But actually, it was very difficult to find artisan. So before Second World War, so every small houses in the countryside of Japan were built by the thatch, but that tradition totally disappeared. But as for this project, I luckily found a very old artisan from that village. He's more than 75 years, and he came back as a work to join this project. And I think the architects should find that kind of chance to bring back the tradition to contemporary design. This is interior. They are selling the local vegetables. And even for this kind of client, Starbucks, I propose to use local material. Location is in front of Tenmangu, Dazaifu Tenmangu. This is this old temple. It's in front of the Torii Arch. So we designed that Starbucks shops. And this, I want to show the artisanship to that kind of client. Because normally, they think architecture is architecture, interior is interior. But in that case, I try to integrate interior and structure and architecture. Those small sticks are supporting the building. And this shows how to construct that building. This is interior. And even for Japanese carpenters, it is not easy project. As they thought very deeply how to make the joint, and finally we could achieve it. And after, as of Starbucks was done, the Taiwanese pineapple cake company came to us. The Sunny Hills is the pineapple cake company. So we designed that building. And again, this is not the facade. This is the structure of the building. And before the Second World War, we had this kind of craftsmanship. But now it is not easy to find the craftsmen, carpenters, to achieve this quality. Because this building has no column and beams. It's just small sticks that are supporting the building. And the name of that joint system is called the hell joint. Hell. In Japanese, we call it jigoku. The meaning is if we fix tightly, nobody can take apart. It's the same as hell. If we drop, never come back, and then the system is so strong. And the interior is like that. So we try to integrate vegetation and the structures like that. And Birch in Latvia, so you have the beautiful birch forest, and this is a small chapel. And my idea is to try to integrate forest and building, and all covered by moss. This is a plan. That this is a section of the building. And if we look down like that, so we can find the border between forest and building. But from here, as a border disappeared. And so for interiors, we did design a transparent bench, and then as a exterior and interior totally integrated. And even for the big city, we try to make the smallness, but it's not easy, of course. In the center of Tokyo, there is a famous temple, and I like this temple very much because the towers is there, and the main building, and the long gallery, and the main gate. So in front of the gate, we proposed that building. It's as a cultural and tourist center. As a requirement is a 40 meters high building. It's not small building. But we want to make small 5 buildings stacking together. It's because that area, Asakusa area, historically is this area for the small wooden houses. So I try to bring that kind of beauty to this building. This is a section of the building. Between the space between the floor and the roof also will be used for mechanical, and this is rendering, and this is reality. And we did use real wood for the facade. And this is the small theaters. The floor is inclined because the roof as a beneath also inclined. The rooftop bars look down the temple. The left is the tallest tower in Tokyo. It's a huge tower, 600 meters. I try to create the contrast. The big tower is belonging to 20th centuries. In 21st centuries, we try to seek to achieve the smallness, even in the center of the city. And in China, I mentioned that China, the people like the bigness, but actually, some people some Chinese like to have the small and smallness in the with the harmony with the environment. This is a site. I try to follow the topography as possible as can. The topography has such as a slope. It is a one-story building, and floor is following the landscape. And this is a building. It looks like the village because one issue is a material. So we did use the roof tile from the old houses. Many old houses were demolished, and we could get the roof tile from the old buildings. And I like the color of the old material. The industrial material is homogeneous, same colors, the same textures, but the old material, the reused material has a diversity. So I like that kind of diversity. And also we divided the volume into the small segment, so then we could achieve that kind of feeling. The roof tile was used for the screen to control exterior and interior. And this is interior, so the natural light is filtered like that. And the floor is following the landscape, topography, and also reused material, reused wood. And this is a new project in center of Beijing. This is very center in the Beijing. You know, Tiananmen is a main square. It's just beside the south side of Tiananmen. It's very, very center of Beijing. And many developers propose the skyscraper project for that area. It's a typical thing in China. But as people were against those skyscrapers, and Western journalism, newspapers were against that skyscrapers, and finally, China, even China's changes as a concept. They decided to preserve the area and preserve the street, and they asked for architects, me and MVRDV from Dutch and two Chinese architects were in charge of that preservation. And we try to combine some opening with the solid wall, because historically the street was very comfortable, but the street and the living were totally divided. And this is actually, this is my office in Beijing. because after designing the projects, I like this area very much, and I decided to move my office from the tower to this comfortable street. This is a detail of the house. This screen is also controlling the relationship. And in Europe, we also try to achieve that kind of smallness. This is in France, project in Besançon. We decided to preserve the old brick building and add wooden structures to create the harmony with the environment. We also did design the landscape besides the building. The wood came from the mountain behind, in that case larch. And this is, we also designed the landscape between river and the building. And in Japan, this kind of semi-outdoor space, this kind of covered space, is called Engawa space. The Engawa is between building and the gardens. And I like that kind of semi-outdoor space, in-between space. As we did design the biotope, creek, and the Engawa. So my idea is building should be part of the landscape and should be part of the city. So I like this kind of small openings. The small openings would create some kind of forest feeling. And the interior is like that, the rooftop. And another project in France is Entrepot MacDonald, but MacDonald is not hamburger. Please be careful. After Starbucks, somebody misunderstands this project for MacDonald. But it's a story is started from the 1970s big Entrepot. As the Lemco House did a master plan. And his idea is to preserve the 600 meters building and divide the building in 6 pieces. I was in charge of the west end of the complex, and other French architects, they wanted to build concrete box on concrete box. So they built the boxes on top. But my part is I want to create roof to make harmony with the neighbors. And also the roof can create a kind of semi-outdoor space. It welcomes the people, also welcomes the kids of the area. This is a semi-courtyard, and the kids are like that kind of space. And as material-wise, I did use wood for the roof, because even for the big city like Paris, wood is necessary, I thought. And the wood can create lightness, transparency, and warmness, and intimate scale. And after that, we are designing the station in Paris. The area, Saint-Denis area in Paris is north of Paris. It's not safe area. The terrorists, you remember the terrorist attack in Paris? They were living in that area. The Syrians, immigrant, and the immigrant from those countries, are living in that area, and it's not safe area. And the city of Paris, wanted to build a new type of station. It's open to community, to have the community space. And they don't want to make another concrete box. And our proposal is to create the park, and it's connected with the area. And also we have vegetation and the wood for interior. But at the beginning, they said, no, wood is it this, this district is a very, very dangerous district, is as a terrorism and and graffiti, we found a very good treatment to avoid graffiti on the wood, and then so finally they agreed to use wood for the interior of the station. Spain, we are designing the opera house in Granada. So Granada is famous for this Alhambra Palace. The geometry of the palace is very different from the square, rigid geometry. And I tried to make the kind of fruits, pomegranate. The name of Granada came from that fruits. I inspired by the fruits. And in UK, we are designing a big V&A museum at Dundee, Scotland. The Dundee, as a V&A in London, the houses in that building. The landscape of Dundee is like that. And my first sketch is to try to integrate the building with a river. I try to create the kind of man-made cliff which can be merged into the environment. As a wood, again, Scottish oak is used for the interior. And besides those bigger projects, because actually the big volume is not easy project for us. I prefer the smaller project, the smaller experimental project with the kind of the new material, sometimes natural material, sometimes new material. It's a small pavilion made by the very unique material. It's a shape as memory alloy. As a character of that shape memory alloy is changing the shape following the temperature. If temperature is high, that metal becomes very hard, rigid. If temperature drops, it's become very soft. And this is very similar to the human body. It's just always moving. So structurally, we should make the very soft structures because it should move. It should be flexible. And there's a very, very transparent like that. And this is a small door to the pavilion, like Japanese tea house. As the next project, we did use umbrella. You know the Fuller Dome by Buckminster Fuller. I like his idea very much. But my concept for this small pavilion is to make the pavilion by the daily commodity, the umbrella. So if I can make the pavilion by the umbrella, it can work if the earthquake happens. If earthquake happens, and we can escape with umbrella. And if we can find the friends carrying that umbrella, I think it's not easy. And 15 friends can make the pavilion by them. And so actually, I worked with the 15 students in Milan, and they built this pavilion by umbrella. And the interior has that size, very transparent and very light. And the joint, as Buckminster Fuller's idea is as a joint by metals, but my idea is joint by zipper. So I prefer the soft joint, and you can see the waterproof the zipper to join the umbrellas. And this is a small door. And after it has done, my student want to stay, drink, and sleep in the pavilion. And 15 students could sleep here. And in 20th century, people believed the concrete box is safe. But now, we should think about how nature is strong, and we should escape, and we should live like nomad. That is my idea behind that project. The water branch is the small polytank, inspired by a small polytank. On the construction site, you can find this easily. The good thing for this is can control weight of the unit. The normal architectures we cannot control the weight, but this is a small polytank is very easy to control the weight of itself. And there is the process of making the special polytank. And my idea is the tank is a kind of cell of body. The liquid is flowing in my body, and same wise, the liquid can flow in the tank. This is the New York Modern Museum exhibited the tanks, and we did the design, the small experimental house. People can live in the house. The heat collectors is sitting outside, and we can get the heat from the sunlight to heat up or cool down the house. And the water is circulating in the cells. And our students, again, they worked for that project. The water is flowing in the tanks. It is a completion of the house. It's a small house, but people can live. The bed is very small. Even for Japanese, it's too small, I thought. But it's a kitchen and bathtub, all made by the same unit. As my idea, my dream is like the human body, one single cell can make anything. And also, always liquid is flowing in the body. I get the inspiration from the system of human body. This is interior. And after that project, I built a small tea house in Beijing. The same idea, polytank. That is this building next to my house this is not as pictures. This is a Forbidden Palace in the city of Beijing. It's just next to Forbidden Palace. And this is the interior. And always, after one project, I try to bring that idea to the next project. Because one project, what I can do for one project is very limited. But if I can continue to work on the same idea, we can step up to the next level. And in this project, the interior is like that. And it is just next to the Forbidden Palace. is a preservation area, so we need to preserve the silhouette of the roof. And then, so finally, we could achieve that project. It took 4 years because to make the polytank in China was not easy, and to get a permission was also very, very difficult, and it took 4 years. But it's worth to spend 4 years for the small project. It is a combination of the Forbidden Palace and the rooftop gardens of the polytank house. And that as of membrane is another interest, as a theme of my design. In Frankfurt, we designed this house, tea house. This is an inflammable tea house. The story is at the beginning of the project, the curators of the museum asked me to use concrete. They said, as a Kuma-san, do you know the vandalism in Germany? So your wooden house will be destroyed in one night. I was so shocked to hear that, but I didn't want to use concrete. And then my idea is, if you want to use tea house, please inflame the tea house in 15 minutes. This is inflammable tea house. This is a plan. It's a double skin as a membrane structures with that interior. The tatami mat is here. It's the combination of the tradition and the new technology. And we bring that idea to the exhibition in the National Building Museum in Washington. It's a floating tea house with membrane. We tested the things. The students work together, always. And after that is in Hokkaido. So we built the membrane house again. So got a hint from this house for Ainu people. Ainu people was living there in Hokkaido. It's an ethnic, the group, small ethnic group. The house was so beautiful. They did use bamboo leaves to cover, to warm up the house. And that's my idea is, without any concrete structures, we can live with nature, with soft skin. And in this area, as it's become minus 30 or something, we achieved that building by the special as an air circulation system. And the new tea house in Kyoto was a magnet joint system. So we recently find the very strong magnet and the 3 layers of seed scrolls that can be fixed by the strong magnet system. As a membrane, I feel as a membrane is a very comfortable material for soft human body. The concrete is too cold and too heavy and too strong for human body. That is my idea. And then I try to find the soft material as possible as can. There's a project for the exhibition in UK. This is very light the structures made by bamboo sticks. And smaller as we are going, is this a trailer house, wooden trailer house we designed recently. In 20th century, as America, they invented a trailer house, but it's still very industrial, very hard, and I don't like that kind of house. So this trailer house was made by wood, and the interior is like that. The dimension is same as a normal trailer house, 2.4 meters by 6 meters. And actually, it works. The small car can carry the trailer, and in the center of Tokyo, so finally we found a place to set this trailer house. And now it is used for the small bar, and 10 people can sit in this small bar. People enjoy the warmness of wood. And at last, so I want to show the smallest project we designed. It's a TSUMIKI project. You know, musician Yuichi Sakamoto he is doing the NPO named More Trees. Those forests in Japan is facing very bad condition. Nobody wants to use Japanese wood because Japanese wood is very, very expensive. And then it's a very bad situation. And Sakamoto's idea is to use the wood from Japan. And so we work together to design the small wood block. And normally, the wood block is block. That idea probably came from the masonry structure system. The stacking the stone makes a house. But on the contrary, we designed that triangular shape, light as possible and transparent as possible. So inspired by Japanese wooden houses. And also the flexibility. We have the great flexibility. And the tree blocks, more trees. And we have that freedom. And through those projects, I want to show them the big potential of natural material. In 20th century, people believed the concrete and steel are the only option of us. But now, the people would like to live with wood, to live with light, warm material. And in Japan, so we have a strong tradition to live with wood. And also Latvia, I saw some of the beautiful wooden buildings. The 2 stories as wooden buildings. And from those small countries, I want to show the example for the lifestyle in 21st century. Thank you so much.
Many thanks for inspiring lecture, and I'm sure the audience has questions.
Hello, thank you for your lecture. I have 2 questions. Okay. I was wondering if you agree to the statement that architecture of today is a product of globalization, and do you see that as a problem? And then other question is, what is a Japanese identity for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's a good question. So, globalization has the 2 different phases, I think. So one attitude to globalization is to bring one prototype to send to different places. It's a kind of branding. One brand, like Louis Vuitton, the one brand can find anywhere in the world, but same one brand. But there's another phase of globalization is to find the uniqueness of the place, to find the special character of the place and the special material of the place. And whenever I go to the site, I try to find the good craftsman, good material. And always, before 19th century, each place has a tradition and the special material and the craftsman all together. But in 20th century, it's all divided. And so my strategy for globalization is to find the locality. So it is very possible because we can work abroad easily, as much easier than before. And then we can collaborate with the craftsman, local craftsman, easily. And then that is my idea for globalization. And I think this period is a kind of critical period. And if we forget the craftsmanship, they will disappear forever. That crisis is happening even in Japan. But if we can find the chance to work with them, we can enhance their skill again, and I try to do that. And as for Japanese identity, it's a good question. Japanese identity, I think Japanese is living in the small country, and the density, the density of Japanese cities are very, very dense. Very narrow streets, small houses, but we have the wisdom to solve that density, and then to use natural material, to use the screen, and to design the semi-outdoor space is a solution to solve that density. And then the Japanese identity exists in that kind of solution. Okay? Any?
There was another question.
Tomorrow. You are done you will interview tomorrow.
Yes, please, there is another question.
The transparency. Yes, yes. The question is related with the density. We should live very close. In 20th century, people believed we have the big space, big suburbs, the big gardens possible. But after the environmental crisis, we find we should live close, and we should live in the compact city. And even in the compact cities, we want to live in a comfortable way. And transparency is not 100% transparency. So we can control the relationship with neighbors by the screens. If we find a way, so even for the small box, we can feel comfortable, we can feel flexibility. And that is the reason why I try to achieve transparency.
Is there any other question?
Tomorrow.
Yes, I wanted to have a small comment. I remember in the introduction that you wrote for Celestial Gardens, Kyoto Imperial Villa, you somehow beautifully shifted the attention from the architecture itself to the setting. And you were saying that this is a time of the gardens again. And I was wondering if you could say that this is happening in Japan at the moment, or it was just a reminiscence about the past times. In that book, you mentioned about the book. In that book, I wrote about the importance of the gardens.
In Japan, historically, the building is belonging to the gardens. The garden is protagonist, and the people are enjoying the gardens, and that drinking in the garden, eating in the garden. Like today, I try here this. The house as a building was belonging to the gardens, and it's a temporary pavilion, like a temporary pavilion. I like that idea because for energy issues, it is the best solution. Living in the garden or semi-outdoor space is probably the best solution to save energy. And the building should be limited. Still in winter we need the house, but can be limited. And then the main theme of the book is going back to the age of gardens, going back to the age of nature. That is the main theme.
Yes. Thank you, Kuma-san. And I would like to ask Ms. Gunta Grikmanen, the president of Latvian Association of Architects, to say a few words.
I'm very thankful, Mr. Kuma, for coming and sharing your ideas with us. And in name of all the architects of Latvia, I will, as for memories, I'm giving you the book of Latvian contemporary architecture and a small bookmark to remember where you left it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.